Why would they make a movie about Tonya Harding? I remember all that. That wasn't that long ago, was it? He went. Hold on. Oh, God. I'm old!
I'm old! I beg your pardon?
Oh, I'm like the Crypt Keeper!
Okay, that's...
Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. It finally came out in my town, although it's been out for a while. I finally got to see I, Tonya, which is very interesting because, yeah, I remember watching this whole thing unfurl on the news and stories going around, and it's kind of interesting to see something that I lived through that I knew about happening put on the big screen as like a tale of old-timey stuff, kind of. Well, let's get into it. I, Tonya is brought to us by director Greg Gillespie, who brought us The Finest Hours. You remember that one. That's the one with like Casey Affleck, and he's like, it's in the 60s or something, and he's like part of the Coast Guard. You remember that one, right? No, anyways. So the plot of I, Tonya is that it's a biopic of Tonya Harding. The trailers kind of sell it as, you know, talking about what they call the incident. But really, it is a biopic of her entire life, growing up, learning to ice skate, her trials and tribulations, possible abuse, all this fun stuff going on. And if you didn't know, if you're young or out of the loop, Tonya Harding was a figure skater, Olympic figure skater, and was the first to do a triple axel in competition, which is apparently a big deal, I'm sure. But she was seen as like this redneck in a world full of princesses. And in 1992 or 3, before the Olympics, at a training session, her rival Nancy Kerrigan got hit in the knee by an unknown assailant. And it started this whole thing where Tonya Harding's husband actually set up the attack. And how much does Tonya know? It was a whole big news story, as well as it became part of the whole news culture in the early 90s, where it was like the first like 24-hour news cycle and all these crazy stories going on. So yeah, I mean, a quick look into like a Wikipedia article about Tonya Harding will tell you the general plot of I, Tonya. So let's get into the characters. So of course, we got Tonya Harding, played by Margot Robbie, and I said it before, Margot Robbie might be one of the greatest actors of all time. Margot Robbie might be one of the best actors of all time. Holy crap. And I'll say it again, Margot Robbie might be the best actor of all time. She is so freaking good in this. She really feels like Tonya Harding. To me, it looks like she gained a little weight to do it. You know, she didn't do the full figure skating because that's like a real skill, but she, you know, was ice skating at times. But yeah, she just really fell into this role. You really believed her as Tonya Harding, with like a tinge of crazy, but a tinge of sympathetic, and just so well done. Margot Robbie is fantastic and continues to surprise me on a constant basis. So well done, Margot Robbie. And you can't have the Tonya Harding story without Jeff Gillespie, played by Sebastian Stan. So yes, this is Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan, or Harley Quinn and the Winter Soldier beat up an ice skater. But Sebastian Stan is a true chameleon. Like, he is in like tons of movies, but you don't realize it's him because he blends in just so freaking well. I didn't know he was in The Martian until like 3 weeks after The Martian came out. Like, he just gets into these characters to the point where you don't notice him, which is a testament to how good he is. I mean, did you know he is in Black Swan? I didn't know that. Did you know that? Nobody knew that. So yeah, Sebastian Stan as Jeff Gillespie, who is Tonya Harding's off and on again husband and possible attack planner. and maybe abuser. I'll get to more on that in a little bit. He was very good. Again, just so well done, and just he feels like he's in this role, and you don't think about him as the Winter Soldier or Sebastian Stan. You see Jeff Galooly, and it's just really, really well done. And we have Allison Janney playing Lavanya Golden, who is Tonya Harding's mom. And she is the abusive mom you love to hate. Again, I'll go into more of the abuse stuff in a bit, but like she is just like this crazy, insane mom. This is kind of where the movie goes a little over the top, but she does it in such a fun way. She has a lot of the good comedic roles, and like I said, she makes it so you love to hate her. Like she is so awful, but you're like kind of enamored with how awful she is, and like how worse could she get. And I don't know how much that relates to Tonya Harding's real mom, but yeah, she's a very enjoyable part of this movie. So freaking good. And of course, if you know the story of Tonya Harding and the incident, you would know that there is the bodyguard Sean, who's played in this movie by Paul Walter Hauser, who I have not seen in anything, but he is so freaking good in this as well. They even show some interviews at the end of the movie, like real interviews, and you can kind of compare, like, wow, they did a really good job. Like, he is this weird guy. So Sean is kind of like this hanger-on. He was Jeff Galooly's friend, and I guess unofficially Tonya Harding's bodyguard, and is kind of like that weird guy, who thinks he's like an assassin. Like, he always like, I know a guy that does this. Like, we all kind of know that guy that thinks he knows more about something than he really does. He is that guy. Just went to the extreme of actually carrying out an attack on a human being, so that's fucking crazy. But he does a fantastic job in this and well. And overall, this movie is cast amazingly. Such a good cast. Everyone really gets into their roles, really delve deep. No characters took me out of the fact like where this took place in this story, and it's just so well done. So besides that, what worked well about I, Tonya? So the first thing that I love about this is the framing device. They tell you right at the front that this is based on the unironic and constantly contradictory stories of all people involved, which is great. So it's not taken from one person's point of view. This is everybody's. So it does contradict itself at times because it's all these people that could never come up with a story. And if you followed this story when it came out, they never could. It was always like, he said this, she did this. It was everyone covering their own ass, and it was a whole big clusterfuck. And I felt like they dealt with that in such a good way because of that. Like, it's, like I mentioned the abuse before, Jeff Galooly claims up and down he never hit Tonya, and Tonya claims up and down that he beat her all the time. So it's just contradictory stories like that. Same with things with Tonya Harding and her mom. Her mom says Tonya said her mom made her do this or did this to her, and her mom says like, no, that's not true. And like, who do you believe? It's a lot of he says, she says, and handling it in that fashion is great. And what it is, the stories played out while intercut with interviews of like current day Tonya Harding and everyone involved. Although it's not real, it's Margot Robbie playing Tonya Harding in today time. I don't know when they say these interviews took place. Anyways, sorry, off topic. Anyway, so they're doing these interviews that's intercut with doing the flashbacks and telling the actual story, as well as it does the kind of Wolf of Wall Street thing, which I really like, where since they're doing like a lot of the overdub, all of a sudden out of nowhere, a character will just start talking to the camera and kind of breaking the fourth wall, kind of reminding you like, did this happen? I don't know. Like, this is from this person's point of view, and kind of cool stuff like that. That was done really well, and I loved how they did that. And I said before, this is a full biopic, but they don't play coy about why we're all here for what they call the incident when Nancy Kerrigan was attacked. Who knew what happened after with the whole media clusterfuck, like what all went on. And so they play that up a lot. And it's done really well. They're, basically like, yeah, that's all this stuff building up to it, but here's why you're here. Come on. I think that was really awesome the way they did that, as well as the movie like picked up pace when that happened. Kind of paralleling the weird media frenzy around it. Like, now things are happening, people are doing this guy's saying this guy's over here, she's over here doing this, he's over here. Like, it's a whole thing, and it really lends well to the movie and the feel of what was happening at the time. And it's one of the few times I can say, yeah, that was kind of like how it was. And that was really cool. And then they also nail the 90s aesthetic awesomely. Like, it's not like this caricature of the 90s where everyone's, wearing their big old, workout pants and listening to MC Hammer. This is like what I remember the 90s being, like slightly fuzzy. They got the clothes perfect. All the cars were accurate. Like, this is middle class 90s, and it felt like, damn, that is what it felt like to me. So some of you younger viewers out there, if you want to see what the 90s looked like, I, Tonya, that's what the 90s looked like. They nailed that aesthetic, and it was freaking awesome. They just did some really, really good stuff. But no movie is perfect. Where does I, Tonya fall short? Well, first of all, there's two things I got to bring up right at the top of my negatives here. And there are two things that are completely unavoidable, but bear mentioning. First one being, we know what happens. It was such a crazy event when this happened that all these stories, encapsulating all the past of Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan started coming out, and you'd see news reports about where they came from and all this stuff. So there wasn't too many surprises. And that's par for the course for a lot of biopics. If you know the character and the story, you know what's going to go on. But this one was such a big media frenzy. I feel like anyone that was alive in 1992, 93 knew this story. Like, we all know this story. And like I said, it's unavoidable, but it is worth mentioning. And the other part is, and it's something I've seen a lot of people mention, it paints a very sympathetic picture of Tonya Harding. And I think it was unavoidable to do that, because you can't make every character in your movie a terrible person. Even if this story really is all about terrible people, you need to have at least one sympathetic character. And as well as, I don't think Tonya would have signed over the rights to her life, her life story, if you painted her as a crazy person. So it really makes her sympathetic. And in some ways she is, because if you follow what she said, she didn't do anything with the attack, she didn't know anything about the attack, but she was still banned for life from figure skating. And that's, terrible. The thing that you've worked your whole life to build up towards, you're not allowed to do anymore. Now, I bring this up as a negative because people my age or older really don't like Tonya Harding. She was definitely played up as this monster, and a lot of people don't want to see a sympathetic view of her. She was this crazy bitch, basically. And so if you really don't want to see her as a sympathetic character, this may not be the movie for you. But that is something I felt was unavoidable, but you can kind of see as a negative depending on how you go into the movie. Now, my real complaints about the movie are very few. One of the main ones being handling of the character of Nancy Kerrigan. Like I said, I didn't mention her in my character breakdown before because she's not in it a whole lot. Which, yeah, this is the Tonya Harding story. But you'd think Nancy Kerrigan would play a little bit bigger role. But it was played by Caitlin Carver from Paper Town. Paper Town? I don't know. Whatever. And I think they probably used her enough. Maybe they should have used her a little bit more. But my overall problem is that they took so much time painting Tonya Harding as sympathetic, they kind of forgot to do that for Nancy. Like, she was almost taken out of the Olympics because people are fucking crazy. And they kind of are even a little nasty to her at times. And I know, like, that's the view of these people involved, and so it kind of fits within the story. But yeah, they kind of paint her in an ugly light. And it's not like a character assassination or anything, but I don't think they handled Nancy very well. And the other small complaint I have is Jeff Galooly's old makeup. When he's in the, current day interview when Sebastian Stan's done that. The way they make him look old looks weird. Like, he's got this weird goatee that looks fake to me, like obviously fake, and it's kind of like theater class old guy makeup, just a few lines, which is weird because I think they did a really good job de-aging and over-aging Margot Robbie, that it kind of is like an afterthought to do it to Jeff Gillooly and Sebastian Stan, so that's a little weird. It's a little nitpick, but that is a weird thing. Now here's usually where I put some spoilers, but we know this story. There's no spoilers. It's that story. The only spoiler would be that they never really do tell us what exactly happened, and I think we all know we're never going to truly know how much Tonya knew about the attack, what really happened, what did Jeff Gillooly do, how much did he set up, and we're just never going to know this clusterfuck of a story, like what really happened. We'll never know. So let's go ahead and just wrap this up. So for biopics, for me, I tend to have a lot of problems with them because they are, the stuff happens in them and you're like, no, that didn't happen. And I find myself questioning what is real and what was added for dramatic effect. But I think this movie handled it really well, where it called out its own bullshit a lot. And I think that worked very much to its strength and made it a very good, enjoyable biopic. Playing into the media frenzy of that time and all this stuff going on and the contradictory stories was done really well, and I very much enjoyed this movie. So in the end, my rating is going to be see it in theaters. When it comes to your town, because, little sidebar, this movie has a weird release schedule. It was like released in random towns at a time. It was really odd. It actually came out December of last year, of 2017, and I didn't see it till last week because it just came out in my town. So that's weird. So when it comes to your town, though, check out I, Tonya. It is very awesome. Now, did you see I, Tonya? What'd you think about it? Let me know in the comments below, and go ahead and hit that thumbs up for me because I need more thumbs up in my life. Not enough people just like thumbs up, give me a thumbs up in real life, so I need digital thumbs up. So yeah. I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots.